Here in a short moment, you can feel the electric thrill of a Travis Scott show. Well, this excitement soon turned to terror. He doesn't know it yet, but this night will haunt him in much more than headlines.
8 people died during a crowd surge at the
Astroworld Festival organizers have been hit with their first lawsuit.
Witnesses describe a scene of pure chaos.
My rib cage was so squished.
I went to a state where I accepted that I was going to die.
Long before Astroworld, Travis Scott already was a rager. In a 2015 GQ interview titled How to Rage with Travis Scott, he made it clear his concerts were all about rage and chaos.
Performances, I always wanted to make it feel like it was the WWF or some shit. You don't like people that just stand. We don't want you standing around like this is a no-stand zone.
The same year in his Lollapalooza performance, he got arrested for the first time for disorderly conduct and trying to make fans go crazy. Later on Instagram, Scott responded to the incident by saying, "Love you fans. Thank you Lollapalooza, learned a lot from this. But did he really learn anything?" In 2017, during a concert in New York City, Scott once again encouraged fans, this time to jump from a multi-storied balcony into the crowd below. Most people landed safely, but one did not. Kyle Green, a 23-year-old fan, was paralyzed and had to use a wheelchair after he was pushed from a third-story balcony and then dragged on stage while the rapper performed at the Manhattan venue. He later sued Scott, claiming the rapper's encouragement had led to his life-altering injury. On a Reddit thread, fans responded, "Wow, that's terrible. No one goes to a concert thinking that they might end up paralyzed. Feel bad for both of them here. He should definitely sue the venue. Security moving someone with a back injury is an enormous F up. Literally the one thing you aren't supposed to do if someone sustains a spinal injury." Even then, the mainstream media wasn't sounding full-scale alarms. Maybe it was because Scott was riding the wave of hip-hop superstardom. Or maybe it was because his fans saw these moments as badges of honor, not warning signs. So when Scott announced his music festival, Astroworld 2021, fans braced for madness. What an insane lineup, can't wait to go. I gotta get in enough shape to hop the fence and outrun security. This is me and my friend's first Travis concert. What should we expect? Well, chaos. However, this time the chaos would become a catastrophe. From the moment Travis Scott took the stage at Energy Park in Houston on November 5, 2021, it was clear this wasn't just another concert. Earlier that day at 2 o'clock, a stampede burst through the gates. Hundreds of people destroyed the VIP security entrance, bypassing the checkpoint.
Dozens of people much earlier in the day break through security barriers to bypass the main checkpoints to surge into the Astroworld Festival.
One security guard had quit his job earlier that day.
It just didn't seem secure or safe, so for the safety of myself, I just decided it would be best to just, leave for the day.
By the time the sunset and Scott's set began, the crowd had become an uncontrollable force. Fans were shoulder to shoulder, struggling for air. Even as an ambulance tried to navigate through the sea of people, Scott barely acknowledged it.
Y'all know what y'all came to do. Chase me, let's go.
By the time the dust settled, 10 people had died from compression asphyxia, and hundreds more were injured. A video titled Chaos in the Crowd, Astroworld 2021 later analyzed footage from the festival of desperate cries for Scott to stop, all to no avail. The morning after, the world woke up to headlines soaked in tragedy. At least 8 dead and many injured after crowd surge. Astroworld Festival joins historical concert tragedies. A Twitter account for Astroworld Fest offered condolences to the families who lost their loved ones. Our hearts are with the Astroworld Festival family tonight, especially those we lost and their loved ones. We are focused on supporting local officials however we can. But amid all the noise, one question stood out. How is Scott going to respond? Scott's apology video, posted to Instagram, was a monotone delivery, awkward forehead rubbing that felt like an afterthought.
I'm honestly just devastated, and I could never imagine anything like this just happening. I'm gonna do everything I can to keep you guys updated.
By now, the backlash was widespread. YouTubers like Philip DeFranco and Moist Critical tore apart the video.
This whole apology video looks like he was just woken up out of a deep slumber and forced to make this. There's no "I'm sorry." It's crazy. Every single fucking apology video ever, for some reason, lacks the most basic apology. A simple "I'm sorry." Nothing. None of that present here.
The comments read, "He's not rubbing his head, he's just reading the notes he wrote on his hand. He looks like he's half asleep and hungover. Dude just doesn't care." This made Logan Paul's apology look like an Oscar-worthy performance. But things were about to get worse. Within days, lawsuits were filed by the dozens.
Travis Scott and Astroworld Festival organizers have been hit with their first lawsuit over the tragedy.
Victims and their families were suing Travis Scott. Drake, Apple Music, Live Nation, and NRG Stadium were hit with a $2 billion lawsuit representing nearly 300 alleged victims. By the end of November, over 400 lawsuits had been consolidated into a single massive case, one of the largest concert-related legal battles in history. Podcasts like No Jumper dissected the lawsuits, with hosts debating who's at fault or will Scott's career ever be back to normal.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Travis Scott be able to do something like that again a year or two from now, but I think it's going to be a while before brands want to directly associate with him like that.
The narrative was no longer just about a concert gone wrong, it was about accountability. Coachella 2022 quietly removed him from the lineup. Dyer indefinitely postponed its Travis Scott collab that was set to launch in early 2022. Nike delayed the release of his Air Max 1 sneakers, later dropping them with almost no promotion to distance themselves. In an interview with Charlemagne the God, Scott later tried to defend himself.
Yeah, it wasn't really until minutes until the press conference until I figured out exactly what happened.
Joe Budden, however, didn't think so.
Travis would be making some sense in this interview if there wasn't mounds of evidence to contradict everything he said on the interview. And we know that because he's actively scrubbing his Instagram as we speak.
In March 2022, Scott announced Project HEAL, a $5 million multi-tier initiative dedicated to addressing challenges facing today's youth, from academic scholarships, free mental health resources, a creative design center, and a first-ever tech-driven solution for event safety. On paper, it sounded noble, but for Reddit users, it felt like a multi-tier PR campaign dedicated to addressing the bad reputation the Travis Scott brand is facing today. By mid-2022, one thing was clear. The Astroworld tragedy wasn't just a moment in Travis Scott's career, it became the defining moment. For months, Scott had been laying low, avoiding interviews, and slowly plotting his next move. However, in August 2022, Travis made a calculated move. In cryptic Twitter posts, he wrote, "I'll be back when it's album time." His long-awaited album, Utopia, was coming. The rollout was secret, with billboards teasing a return to form. But Scott knew that this album couldn't just be another collection. It had to be bigger. It had to be undeniable. When Utopia finally dropped, the response was mixed. YouTube critics like Anthony Fantano reviewed the album and couldn't ignore the elephant in the room.
It's been almost 2 years since that terrible night, and Travis seems to think it's finally time to move on. And with that enters Utopia. Only time will tell how all of this will potentially impact conduct and attendance and safety planning at future Travis Scott concerts.
The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. And then there was the Utopia tour. Scott was ready to rage again, but not every city was ready to have him back. Fans wondered if the rager energy of his concerts could ever be the same. The comments read, "Bet he stopped that shit anytime somebody sneezed to make sure they all good. You good, bro? You need a tissue? You signed the forms before entering, right? Bet he still doesn't give a shit." However, in June 2023, Scott got thrown a lifeline.
Travis Scott will be removed from lawsuits surrounding the deadly Astroworld Festival.
A judge has been hearing a motion to dismiss the rapper from litigation.
For Scott, this was the legal lifeline he needed. By 2024, Scott's career had survived, but had also changed. He wasn't the same artist he was before November 5, 2021, and he never would be.